Hey, come on into the room. Welcome to this training, How to Help Your Child Gain Confidence in Reading in as little as 12 weeks using the Reading Without Tears method. Now, this training is for you if you are a parent of a child who is struggling to read with confidence. Your child struggles to sound out words, and you desire for your child to make mistakes without frustration. So, therefore, they read books independently, comprehend what they're reading, so they have pride in their reading ability. And as a parent, you want your child to be prepared for the next grade. You're a parent who perhaps you're worried that maybe your child isn't getting the support at school when it comes to understanding the basics of reading. Or maybe you just want them to reach new heights because you know additional support is key. Or maybe you're a parent who just values your child's education. You want to set them up for success, and that's okay. If you're a parent who is also, by the way, prepared to invest the time, energy, and effort to help your child achieve top grades at school. And also, if you're a parent who's just looking for a clear and actual plan to help your child stay motivated and actually enjoy learning and taking accelerated subjects, this training is for you. So, I'm just going to run you through quickly what you're going to learn in the training. So, I've broken it down into three key things. Number one, what to do when your child's reluctance to read triggers you. And that happens. You are not alone in that. Number two, the three things you can adjust to help your child start to read books each night. And number three, the first steps you can take to have your child go from guessing words to reading them and grow in their confidence in their reading ability every single day. I'm going to show you how to help your child, and as a result, your child will read more words and sentences and start to take pride in their reading ability. It will help them to enhance their decoding skills and critical thinking skills so they can solve all sorts of problems. So they can get beyond the point of using up their cognition, working memory for sounding out words to finally understanding what they're reading. For example, building their vocabulary. It's just going to make everything a whole lot easier. I'll show you exactly how you can do just that, help your child become a better reader. But before we actually get into the training, let's make an agreement. I know you could probably have Netflix on, or you could be cooking dinner or making appointments, and there's something else you can be doing. I know you're extremely busy. You're a career woman. However, your child is only 8 once. They don't turn eight twice. So go ahead and take advantage of this time while their brain is still flexible, okay? If I promise to show you how your child can read more words and sentences, and as a result, start to have confidence in their reading ability, then I want you to make a promise that you're going to take action on what I share, okay? If you share with another parent, cool. Or if it just means you actually have a goal of implementing this, that's okay too, as long as you agree to take action. Or if you actually want to help, if you need additional help, I can show you how me and my team might be able to help you with our offerings that we have for kids. I'll show you and tell you all about that at the end of the training. But for right now, let's get into what your child needs to focus on. First up, you may be wondering why your child isn't seeing the progress you want for them at school. Or maybe you're feeling frustrated because you had a great education, and school maybe became easy for you, and maybe even for some of your other children or their cousins, reason just came naturally. On top of that, you're a career woman. You have a busy life. You're a wife. You're a mom. You have your sisters, and you just don't have the time, knowledge, or patience to help your child. It just seems impossible to get your child ready for school, for them to have top grades in reading, math, and social studies, because reading affects every area. It's a domino effect. And it's a struggle to have your child focus, to have them sit and read. And maybe even got your child a tutor in the past, and it just didn't work. And I am going to show you why it did not work in the past and why some of these problems exist. And it comes down to a few things. And one of them is that relying just on a school teacher. When you rely just on a school teacher, it's a one dimensional approach, one worldview, one strategy. So let's think about some of the most influential athletes and billionaires. Let's say Oprah Winfrey. She had her chef author, who was her cook, who helped her be healthy, but Oprah Winfrey wanted to be her best self in all areas. So she hired a coach for each of the areas of her life in order for her brand to skyrocket. Other athletes and influencers and billionaires in this generation did the exact same thing. They do that because they realize that that's what it takes. Like LeBron James has a personal trainer, he has a nutritionist, a mindset coach, etc. So he could become elite. So the top students, the ones that are getting ahead, that are reading on and above grade level, don't rely on their school teacher because they know that's what amateurs do. The top students think like elite athletes and billionaires. So this is pretty much the main reason why these problems exist because you're just relying on that one-dimensional approach. And school teachers have a lot of kids to work with, and they can't individualize for your child, and they can't specialize everything for your child. And they're experts in a lot of things, and they have many things going on. So the key is to not just rely on a school teacher, and as soon as you escape this, watch your child's results skyrocket. Secondly, is the winning environment. And what I mean by that is it doesn't matter how good your child is, if your child doesn't have other people around them who want to get to the top of the same mountain, then they are always going to be times when they feel demotivated, and there are always going to be times when perhaps your child doesn't want to read or practice the reading skills needed to get them to the next level. Next, they are the New England Patriots, the New England Patriots, one of the most influential football teams. Now, individually, they're not the best players, but when they come together, the standards rise, they put on their jersey, and all of a sudden, they're extremely hard to beat. So, what we see a lot of students doing is they go and get themselves a one on one tutor. So, they're still isolated, okay? Imagine sending your child to climb Mount Everest by themselves. That's what it's like getting your child when you get them a one-on-one tutor. It's like getting your child from nursery rhymes to reading Shakespeare, all them by themselves, climbing Mount Everest by themselves. So you can you can get a one-on-one tutor, the one-on-one model, your child still be isolated, and still having to find that motivation for themselves and having to rely on their own standards. Or you can find out what we call the winning environment. And what most success people know is that this is the key to ultimate success. So there's just a lot of students doing this, and they don't teach this anywhere. And this is fundamental as well to help your child advance their reading skills. Find a winning environment. Don't let your child become a lone wolf because the tribe always survives. The last thing is reading random books at home. There's so much information out there right now. So you've probably heard the saying, you can work harder or you can work smarter. So working harder is the child who is just picking up random books at the library, the child who is just finding books on Amazon, eating mini, money, mo, or just as a parent, you may look at the cover and say, this may be interesting for my child to read because it is in the children's select section. Selecting random books just based on the interest or the enticing cover rather than based on skill level does more harm than good. That is part of the reason your child is like this kid in this picture, bored, goes to sleep when you ask them to read during reading time, gives you that evil eye when you ask them to read. So there's 3 areas. Those are just some of the areas I really want you to escape from. But here, there's a little bit more. I want to tell you a little bit about me. Here I am in this picture. I currently live in Maryland. I have over 11 years experience teaching kids. I work with dozens of students to help them go from frustrated readers to confident readers. And so this isn't just something I pulled from anywhere. What I'm going to be sharing with you now is something that has worked for dozens of kids I've worked with. And I have put together over my experience, my master's degree education, and teaching for so many years and working with so many families. First up, we have the Williams family. And she shared that her son was frustrated. He got easily discouraged. And she would also get frustrated. And she wondered for herself, why does this have to be so difficult? But she shared during the first 3 months working with us that he read 3 books with zero tears, zero frustration, and even some laughs. She shared that he's not a master reader yet, but he is reading. He is sounding out words, and more importantly, trying without getting frustrated, embarrassed, and not giving up before he even attempts the word. The best part was that he enjoyed our tutoring and he looked forward to it, and she never had to force him to log on to his lessons. She considered it a win in all areas. Next up, we have the Spriggs family. Their daughter went from making C's and D's to making A's and B's using the Reader Without Tears method. Then we have the Houston family. Their daughter went from having a hard time reading 3-letter words to going on to reading above grade level. So, just to back up my confidence in my Reading Without Tears method, I wanted to show you actual results because I know you shouldn't believe everything out here on the internet, but this is a real thing. Now, let me introduce you to the Reading Without Tears system. Okay, it's really broken down to 3 areas. What I'm going to be sharing with you today is the strategy, so the actual steps. But just as I pointed out a second ago, strategy alone doesn't work. What I'm going to share with you is the strategy, the new way of learning that I've been able to develop with all of the students that I've worked with. We call it the learning trifecta. And so think of this, imagine you've got a platform that you need to hold up in the air. That's the strategy. Okay? Now the platform or the result, right? The reading the words, reading sentences, reading on and above grade level. Now that needs to be supported. So that's the championship trophy in the middle. As you can see here, it needs 3 pillars. Otherwise, it just topples over and the trophy needs to stand up. Okay. So that's the top scores. That's the good grades. Um, and that is your child reading on and above grade level. The reason why your child fails is because they only have one element of this trifecta. That's a strategy, which we just spoke about, and is what I'm going to share more about with you right now. But you also have to have the right environment and you have to have the right habits as well. And so, for example, why do people brush their teeth every single day? It's not because it's just a habit. It's a must because we know what happens if we do not brush our teeth every single day. We're going to be spending a lot of time at the dentist. And so the question is, why doesn't your child read every day for the recommended 20 minutes? Or in this case, why doesn't your child read without frustration and the tears and the tantrum? Why is not a regular? Because it's not a current standard. And the only way to get to that standard, that habit, is to find the winning environment. So once you got all of these pillars, that is how your child is going to achieve success. Just like Michael Jordan did. He used the Chicago Bulls and his teammates. He was never isolated, never alone. He brought in people to train him on the right habits so he could implement the strategy that was given to him by his coaches. He implemented the strategy down to the T. It's the same way with some of the US presidents, movie celebrities. They all have the winning trifecta, and it can be applied to your child reading more words and sentences and to start to take pride in their reading ability. So let's dive into one of the Reading Without Tears system, All right, before we get into it, go ahead and grab pen and paper because I'm going to go pretty quickly. So take some notes. Then I have something for you at the end if you stick around. And if I can help, great. I'll show you how you can actually implement what we're going to walk through, and it'll be good. So go ahead, grab pen and paper, and take some notes. So step one of the reading without tears is what we call recognizing and understanding your emotions. So think about it like this. Have you ever seen your child start throwing a fit because you asked them to read? Have you ever heard your child crying because they just don't get it? They just don't understand how to read that word. And now they're frustrated. You're frustrated. Everyone's frustrated. You just want to walk out the room. Okay? And this leads to tension. This leads to the evil eye from your child because everyone's dealing with the emotions about your child, but about themselves trying to read. You're frustrated. You're at your wits' end and you don't know what to do. Everyone is just stuck at a standstill. But the first step is for you as a parent to recognize and understand your emotions and for your child to do the same. Emotions are okay. It's just signals to ourselves that something needs attention. Think about the beep from the microwave or the smoke alarm, okay? The next up is mindset. The mindset for your child to achieve reading success is for them to focus on the right activities required to achieve results. Part of mindset is accountability. Few adults have the discipline to hold themselves accountable, let alone a young child. With that said, your child needs a community, a system to hold them accountable for practicing the reading skills every single day, every week. Next up is attitude. Confucius said, if you're positive, you'll see opportunities instead of obstacles. Someone else once said, a positive attitude makes you focus on solutions and success rather than on setbacks or stress. Once your child replaces negative thoughts about their reading ability with positive ones, they'll start having positive results. The last area is to test. And what I mean by the last pillar is the test, and that's really the final piece of the puzzle. Okay, and it's kind of like a plane not having a starting point. Doesn't know where to start from. It's never going to be able to know where to fly from. Where do we start off from? It's just, do I start in California, New York? It can't put a place on the map. It's the same as an Uber. If you want to get an Uber, but you can't tell the Uber where you're starting from, they can never come and get you in the first place. So it's the same when it comes to reading. A student needs a starting place. Where are they stuck at? The exact skills that they're stuck in. Okay? When you don't have the exact starting point, then it becomes overwhelming and feels impossible because you don't have a clear starting point, the exact skills that your child needs to work on. And as a parent, you're frustrated, your child is frustrated. And that's what we do here in the program is to have a clear starting point and through reassessment and progress monitoring, find out the exact reading skills that they need to work on and their weaknesses so we can hone in and focus in on those areas. Once you do that, you can plan out a route and it makes learning straightforward, just like the pilot. Like starting at the Atlanta Hartsfield Airport and going to the JFK. As soon as you know the starting points, in this case, it would be three-letter words like cat and bat, then we know where to start from. And the next would be reading full sentences. We're starting at three-letter words, and we're going to full sentences. Knowing the weaknesses. Is the weakness hearing the last sound in words? You have to have a clear starting point. Okay, you have to have certain metrics. Plan out the route so you can create a customized plan. So the first thing is to evaluate the specific reading skills your child needs help with through testing and instead of relying on the general report card that just says they got a C or they're reading below grade level. What does that tell you? That information does not pinpoint the exact skills your child needs help with. Since many schools have a system in setting a pacing schedule that does not ensure kids master concepts before moving to the next skill, many kids are left behind, just like this picture. Okay? Students are frequently tested, however, they are not being tested on the key reading indicators for reading success. Scores that do not test the right reading indicators are useless. It's like keeping track of your blood pressure, but your data log shows how many miles you drove today. That doesn't make sense. Just like a Fitbit or other fitness tracking device, it tracks specific data to make sure you are achieving your fitness goals. There are specific areas of data you have to track to make sure your child moves ahead in reading. So, a quick recap of what we went through so far. First is to recognize and understand your emotions and for your child to be aware of their emotions and to control them with strategies. So, therefore, it does not derail their plan for reading success. So, they can make use of the decoding and comprehension strategies taught in the Reading Without Tears system, and they can focus on what really matters and not just have information go in one ear and out the other. So, next up, you have to renew your mindset. Some of the wealthiest people, like Oprah Winfrey, Bill Gates, and Jeff Bezos, I'm sure do not have the same mindsets as when they were 25 or when they were making 100K. At each level, they learned new information and they had to renew their mindset because some information that applied when they were making 100K and now that they are millionaires, it shifted. They had to refine their mindset for each new phase that they're in. It's the same way when you had to renew your mindset before you had kids and after you had kids. You had to readjust your thinking on your bedtime, your social life, friends, and etc. It's a mindset shift. Lastly, once they did that, they were honest with themselves with their starting point. They assessed their strengths, their weaknesses, gifts, and talents. And in the business world, it's called a SWOT analysis. By evaluating their strengths and weaknesses, they were able to save themselves time by zeroing in on the key areas they need to focus on and improve those areas and save time. And that is one of the secrets to getting ahead faster is to evaluate your strengths and weaknesses in specific areas. Otherwise, you're just walking around the same mountain 100 times and wondering why you're not making progress. And the only way for you to really make progress is to actually have a guide, okay, who's been to the top of that same mountain where you're trying to go. And that is what these pro celebrities do. They get a guy who has been there before. So, first we have the Williams family here, and his mom shared that he is now sounding out words, and more importantly, he is reading without getting frustrated and without being embarrassed. And he reads and he's not giving up. Next, we have the Spriggs family. Their daughter went from making C's and D's in reading to making A's and B's. Then we have the Houston family here. Their daughter went from having a hard time reading three-letter words like cat, bat, and sat to reading above grade level. So just to show you, these are just some of the students I've worked with using my Reading Without Tears method. And it works because these kids plus more are getting results. But what I want to do right now is congratulate you for actually making it this far because you've been through this whole training and it shows me that you're a parent who really desires for your child to do well. So what I want to do is bring you back to the agreement that we had at the start and for you to make a commitment to take action. So there are all different types of action you could take, but the real action, just like the parents or the students you just saw on the previous page early in the training, they decide to actually take things into their own hands and use a proven framework and actually get the help of an expert, just like Michael Jordan did when he wanted to become the best. So let's actually have a little serious chat about how your child can start getting guidance and the help they need so they can start understanding what they are reading, and be ready for the next grade. Let's build out a clear roadmap so your child can get ahead, and so at least you know what to focus on. We will identify what your child's reading skills are, what specific areas they need to work on, and what it may be potentially for us to work together. Okay? So there are three choices. One is guesswork, and you probably already tried that if you're coming to this part of the training. There's hard work, or there is a proven framework. What did these guys in these pictures have in common? Oprah Winfrey, one of the most influential ladies ever live. Bill Gates, one of the richest men in the world with his Microsoft company. And LeBron James, one of the greatest basketball players. What do they all have in common? They follow a proven framework every single time because they know it works. They just don't guess their way to success. Yes, they work hard, but they don't rely on hard work. They find what works and work that system. So they've got that in common, and on top of each of them is on top of their games in their respective areas. Would you like to get a proven framework to help your child go to the next level in their reading